I always knew I was different, meaning there was something I had that I had to give back, but I
Mm-hmm.
just didn't know what it was
Yes.
until, I got to the point in my life where it's like, okay, let's look into that. You were meant to do something bigger and better. You have a purpose.
Hi, everyone. This is Raina Carrillo with Purpose and Passion. And thanks to Luxemediastudios, we are in Vista West Studios. Hey, I'm excited. Something new, something exciting. And so today we have Christine Escobar. And so she is a life coach, a business owner in the mortgage industry. She's the founder and CEO of Gracefully Fierce, a women's empowerment group, this is the reason why I have Miss Escobar in the building today is because I'm all about women empowerment and it's so important to have a sisterhood. So thank you, Miss Christine. I love that Escobar. I love the last
Right?
name.
I'm like, I use it when it's appropriate. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
So,
It's my married name.
take the viewers down memory lane of where were you born and raised or where your family is from because culture is everything to me.
Yes, it says a lot about, who we are.
Yes.
Definitely. Well, I was born and raised in Boyle Heights and really proud to be, from Boyle Heights. My parents are both Mexican from Jalisco and Sinaloa.
Yes.
So I'm really in love with the culture and
Me too.
everything about it. Yes, yes.
The food, the
Yes, the
music,
food,
the
but
drinking.
the
No,
food
so
is deadly. The food is deadly, but yes, yes.
that's awesome. So, when we think about purpose and passion in our childhood, was there something through your childhood that made you want to be, a successful life coach or an entrepreneur or to get into the mortgage industry or just to be a fierce leader to help other women? Like, did you
Definitely.
have that? You know what I mean? Did you have that in you?
I honestly didn't. To be
Mm-hmm.
honest, it's just someone I kind of built myself to be that person. I was always really quiet,
Yes.
a good kid, but just going through different things in life in my childhood, like certain traumas, kind of made me just quiet. Like, let me
Yes.
hide in the background. And I got to a point where it's like I always knew I was different, meaning there was something I had that I had to give back, but I
Mm-hmm.
just didn't know what it was
Yes.
until, I got to the point in my life where it's like, okay, let's look into that. You were meant to do something bigger and better. You have a purpose. And I
Yes.
thought I didn't because when we go through things, we think like, this is my life. Like, why me?
Yeah.
And I was stuck on the why me for such a long time.
Wow. So since we're on purpose and passion, the question I would ask is, when did you find your purpose? Because obviously, once you find your purpose, the passion comes right after.
Yes, definitely. Well, I would say um, I found it after I had my first son. I
Mhm.
was 18, and my passion was also like, okay, what am I need to break the cycle. I need to make a
Yes.
change in this world for him. It's
Hmm.
not his fault. And I always knew I wanted to go to school. To me, growing up in Boyle Heights, just how it was back then,
Yes.
I had to get out, and to me, my outlet was going to school. So it was about helping others and being that person I wish I had to have
Yes.
helped me through those stages or things that I went through. So I started going to school regardless. I worked full time. He was actually 4 weeks when I left him to go to school
Wow.
because I thought this is my stepping stone to change my life. It's
Yes,
that
of
one
course.
safe haven, but I also did that in high school.
Hmm.
At 15, my dad completely left home and I was at a Catholic high school.
Okay.
And my mother had 5 children. So she's like, sorry, you can't go back. And I said, what do you mean I can't go back? It
Yes.
was my safe space. I didn't
Hmm.
want to go to the local high school. I was afraid,
Yeah, because
right?
Boyle Heights ain't no joke.
It
If
was
you're talking
not back
about the
then, definitely for
80s or
sure.
90s, oh
Yes.
Lord.
Yes, yes, 100%. So, a friend of mine, we were at our lockers, said, I'm leaving my job at Baskin Robbins. I said, I'll go with you. I want to take your job. So I started
Yes.
working. I would work from 5 to 10 p.m. and still make it to school. And by that summer, I had 3 jobs. So my purpose at that point also, or that unveiling was no one's going to rescue you
But yourself.
but yourself. Like you've got
Yes.
to take control. And it's like a double-edged sword. It built me a certain way, but at the same time, um, it kind of took a little bit of my gracefulness as a
Mhm.
woman. Like, okay, I had to be hard. I had to be in control. I had to be steps,
Yes.
10 steps ahead because no one was coming. So, that kind of built me a little bit different.
Yeah. So would you say like when you got pregnant at 18, your your significant other at the time wasn't in your life?
He was. No, he
Mhm.
was. But again, he was young,
Yes.
still. It's like for a mother, it's different, right? Innately, I thought, okay, the life that I wanted was
Mhm.
different, right? I got accepted to good schools.
Yes.
I wanted to change that trajectory. I was like that child that was going to make it somewhere. So I felt
Yes.
I was
No,
a
I hear you.
disappointment. And he was part of my life, but he didn't wake up, if I could say it,
Yeah.
explain it in that way, where I was like, okay, I'm going to keep going to school. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. We're not just going to be another statistic.
Yes.
And no, we were, again, I was this 10 steps ahead at that
Yes.
point. And we lasted together 5 years. And at that point, I kind of saw my life like flashing through me. I'm going to have 5 kids, that
Mhm.
single mom at a birthday party, carne asada with my
Yes.
drunk husband and or significant other,
Yes.
and I didn't want it.
Yeah.
And I was 23 with 2 kids at that point,
Wow.
single when I left him.
Man, well, you know what? I think in life, our choices, right, give us consequences, right?
Yes.
But I always tell people, like most time they laugh. They're like, oh, when people throw lemon, you just make lemonade, right? You just gotta look at the factor of what's going on in your life and make the firm decision to make that change.
Yes.
It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't. It just means that you learn from your mistakes and you just keep going because you want something better. And a
Right.
lot of people in life these days, they make a mistake and they stay there.
Yes.
They make a mistake and they pity party. They don't pull
They
themselves
stay in
up.
victim.
Yes, that victim mentality. And so, as I went through my coaching class, I learned that I had the fear of failure. That's why I never ran for mayor of Inglewood at the time during
Wow.
these journeys when I could have ran
Yeah.
for mayor with no kids. And then I had the fear of rejection. And the rejection, now I understood like the mentality I had when people would say no. Like you couldn't say no to Raina. Not even in the
Mm,
streets. When I was out there in the streets, you
yeah.
couldn't tell me no. So I couldn't even take a no on a regular kind of professional basis or like no, a no was
Yeah.
just a heck no. But it had to deal with childhood trauma of the
Yeah.
first rejection,
Your
right?
defense mechanism.
Yes. I had
Mhm.
no idea.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea about these things. So as I learned that, I said, okay, the fear of rejection of somebody closing their door for me running for mayor, right? Had no idea. And then running for mayor was the fear of failure, not winning. So when I ran
Mm,
for mayor of Inglewood in 2022, I didn't win. But I noticed that because of this life coaching course, I was able to like take that loss without crying,
yeah.
without like hurting my ego or spirit,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And so I just said, you know what, I'm happy that I learned these things before, because I think if because a
Oh,
Capricorn
yeah.
in general, January people, like when
You're head
we,
on.
man, yes we are, that's why we have those
The
hoofs,
horns,
because
yeah,
it's
the
like I
hooves.
will break through this wall, you know what I mean, like no
Yes.
matter what, I'll keep going and keep going. But it's important to share your story because you can inspire the next person
Yes.
that is in that situation. Don't You don't have
100%.
to settle for less. So obviously, you end up getting married, you
Yes,
know
years later,
uh-huh.
years
So let's
later.
talk about that
Oh
transition,
gosh, that's the hardest transition. Um, you know, I mean, growing up in LA, I think or anywhere, and just how society was. Here I am, a young mom, 2 kids. They
hmm
already look down on you, right? You're
yes.
not going to make it. You're another statistic. And I was that girl where it's like, okay, I'm going to defy all these odds, regardless of
Yes.
what you say. And that's where I knew, I have purpose. I have a passion to change the trajectory for my own 2 kids.
hmm
So I continued putting myself through school. It was crazy. I actually had a job out here in Culver City. I would take 4 buses,
wow.
2 to drop off my daughter at my grandmother's house and 2 to make it to work. And again, every day. And then my little guy, my son, the principal would pick him up. That's the type of community that,
Yes.
you know, I know that, I obviously had a lot to do with it by who I was being and my
Mhm.
situation, that I had a lot of people. I call them angels in
Yeah, because
disguise,
God is
right?
giving you those people's,
Yes.
people to help you.
Yes. So at that point, I was working at law firms and I
Mhm.
thought, okay, I'm going to be an attorney. I'm going to fight for everyone. And I did start going to legal secretary school, but because I had my two little ones, it was really difficult.
Yes.
And I kept moving job to job. At that point, I didn't know, my mindset about money wasn't there. I
Mhm.
To me, is money was the root of all evil, because I grew up with that at home
Yeah, the
and
mentality.
what it
Mhm.
did to my father. So I moved on to job. And when I think about it, I was like, I left that job for $2. Like, did I not see the other benefit? Or I would drive a whole hour
Yes.
thinking, but that's gas money. But I just thought, I'm getting ahead, right? But I put myself through college. I put my two kids through private school
Mhm.
on my own. I always had two jobs, three jobs. I sold Tupperware, clothes, cell phones, you name it.
Yes.
I was that girl that opened her trunk and I could sell you something to make
Yes.
extra money. And it was hard, but I did what I had to do. Like, if I could explain it the best, it's
Mhm.
survival of the fittest.
Mhm.
And I didn't want my children to be looked down on, like, oh, you come from a single mom
Yeah.
and this is what's going to happen. So I tried making it as normal as possible, but then I lived life just kind of going through the motions,
Yes.
like
And
riding the
so
wave.
so through the motions, how did you meet your new husband?
Oh God, that was through a lot of relationships and meeting the wrong guy, right? Like
Uh-huh.
how one door closes, they were meant to close to
Yes.
get to him. Actually met him by mistake. My sister met him first. They worked
Mhm.
in the mortgage industry and she's like, go to this party. And I thought, okay, fine, I'll go to this party. And it was his house, it's in Pasadena.
Yes.
And I knock on the door. And I said, hi, is Willie Escobar here? He's like, yeah, it's me. And that was it. Like, he
Yes.
stayed with me the whole night there, ignored his party. And we're 18 years now down the line.
That is a blessing.
Yes.
And the reason why I wanted you to share that story is because sometimes like women, whether they're considered a baby mama, right? Oh, you a
Yeah.
baby mama, you got two, one, whatever. They feel like a man will not love them and marry them. That's not the case. That's not the
No.
truth. And then on top of that, even when women are married and they've been in a marriage for 18 years, 20 years, and they have 5, 10 kids, and then they divorce, they feel like they cannot find
Yeah.
you know a love of their life or whatever. I
Right.
say no, that's not the truth, and that doesn't mean that people will look at you wrong. When a man loves a woman, he loves the woman,
Yes.
and if children comes with it, it's not a baggage.
Yeah. It's an
It's
addition.
yes, an
Yeah.
addition,
Definitely.
yes.
It's a step up.
And so that's why I wanted you to share that, because sometimes women tend to feel that way,
Yeah. Well, I did too. Trust me, I did. And I did go through those
hmm
relationships where, oh my God, I love you. I want to marry you.
yes,
But you already have kids, or I wanted, when I have kids, I wanted it to be, the first time and
yes,
it's like, but it'll be our first time, and that
yes.
was one of my hardest relationships where it's like, okay, you love me, you love the kids, but
Yeah.
then,
But that's not real love, because when you love
right.
the woman, you love her
Yes.
unconditional, and you accept what it is. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
what true love is.
Yes,
Because I
definitely.
remember my uncle Harold, he married a woman that had, I believe, 5 kids before they got married and had 3 kids together.
Wow.
And her husband at the time left her for a white woman and never looked back. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so my uncle came into the picture, and he married her and took care of all those kids.
Yeah.
And so it's like when you love somebody, that's what I that's the bigger picture. Like, don't feel that way. If it's meant
Yes,
for you to have a husband, God is going to bless you with one, you
definitely.
know? And so that's why I wanted you to share that, because a lot of
Yes.
women these days still feel that way,
Yeah,
you
and it's
know?
perfectly normal. Trust me, I went through a few relationships like that, and you do feel that way.
Mhm.
And it's not something that comes up at the beginning. It's, you
Yeah.
start seeing it, but if it's meant to be, it'll
It's meant to be,
happen.
yes.
Yes.
So, how did you get into life coaching?
Well, what I did when I met my husband, I was like, God, he's weird. He doesn't get mad. He's always on time. I'm all over the place. But, compared his life to
The
mine where
yin to
we
the
were,
yang, you know what I mean? The
yes,
opposite,
I was like,
yes.
what have you done? Like, so he actually enrolled me into transformational training.
Okay.
And I ended up doing that. I was like, did you want to fix me? But I loved it. I
Mhm.
actually finished the whole course and I ended up being one of their torchbearers at the end of how much work
Yes.
I got done. And I thought, if I had this, when I was younger, I'd run for president,
Yes.
I would be something big, like I thought
Yes.
that. And more people need it. So it totally shifted my mindset. It
Mhm.
got me out of victim mentality
Yes.
and it made me understand, because we as adults, sometimes if we don't have the knowledge or are around certain
Mhm.
circles, it's what's wrong with me or why me.
Yeah.
I was stuck on that for years. So it answered all those questions. And I learned to accept certain things, step outside of the box and look, okay, well, what did I do to
Yes.
cause that? And what do I want to do now? But that's what changed me. And I thought, I want to give this back. And I my purpose is to give this back to younger girls, to high school. So I'm
Yes.
working with my high school right now to try to give that back. But I thought, as women, you're 30s, 40s, like you're still wondering, you're still questioning yourself. So I thought, if I went through my traumas, my
Mhm.
things in my life, to be able to give back and be that difference and change someone's life
Yes.
by what I went through, then I'm gonna keep doing it. And
Yes.
that's how I decided to get into it.
Believing Before Seeing, a new bestseller by Candace Barr. Order your copy today.
So with your life coaching business, what is the name of the business?
Well, it's still Gracefully Fierce. So
Okay, okay,
it's
okay,
it's kind
okay.
of like a derivation of Gracefully Fierce.
So
And
it's
it started there because I saw the need.
mhm.
Like, it's just a little tweak. It's just a little shift. It's
Yeah.
changing your mind and going back. See, a lot of people, like I have a psychology background, and a lot of people think, read these books, you're gonna be fine.
Yeah,
Get over it.
no.
Like, that's BS. Get
I'm
over it.
like, if
Stop
I
being
was
a victim. I'm sorry. It's
I
not that
agree with
easy.
you. I
It's
agree
not
with
that
you.
easy. It's great to learn from others, right? But
Yes.
I'm not going to idolize an author if he hasn't or she hasn't been through what I've gone through.
Correct.
And I feel that as adults, we're hurting ourselves more if we don't get to the root of it. There's always a
Mhm.
reason. Like, I know
Yes.
my traumas, I know what I've gone through. I'm a victor now. Yeah,
Mhm.
yes, I was a
And
victim at one
victory.
point.
Mhm.
But now what do I do? I have the tools. So how am I
Yes.
going to use them?
Share 'em.
So I want to share them with others. So it is part of Gracefully Fierce.
So now that you married a husband that's in the mortgage industry, as both a business owner together, like how do you help the Black and Brown community?
We're not like, we're not biased to anything.
Yes.
We're all about actually helping more the Black and Brown communities. We're in Pasadena,
Mm-hmm.
and we never have Pasadena clients because we don't, it's not like, yeah, let's go out there, because somebody else would be
Yes.
like, oh, it's Pasadena.
Yeah, because I'm from
No,
Inglewood. I'm like Pasadena.
no,
You see
all
those
of our
big old
clients,
mansions.
no, we go everywhere. Our clients are in LA, South
Mm-hmm.
Central, Downey, you name it,
Yeah.
all over the place. And I love it because we give back, because we've been there, right?
Yes.
We've lost it all. We've started from nothing, things like that. Like when COVID happened, we
Oh yeah.
decided to make grocery bags and started dropping them off to all of our clients.
Oh, that's a
We give
blessing.
Christmas gifts, and we know someone's in
Yes.
need. We're always giving back to the community with sponsorships, or
Yes.
we gave money for basketballs. They had some event at with the Clippers. It's like, okay, for kids, like, I think they don't have a ball. Like, we're we're both on the same page of making an impact.
Yes. Which is a beautiful thing because you guys have something in common, and that's giving
Yes.
back.
Yes.
So let's go more into details about you being the founder and CEO of Gracefully Fierce, the women empowerment group part of it, because
Yes.
that's what captured me. And I know I couldn't make it to your event because
Yes.
every time I look up, I have like 4 or 5 events in one day, and then sometimes I just can't make, because it's the timing.
Yeah.
And some places I can kind of pull away, like, okay, I'm gonna be here for an hour, and I'll go over here and then be here for 30 minutes. So I want you to tell the viewers, more about that.
Yes,
Like, how did it come
definitely.
about?
Yes. Well, let's start with the name, Gracefully Fierce.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that as a woman, we're different than men in all aspects, right?
Yes.
But that femininity, like being docile and, kind of, yeah, we're in control. We want to be boss ladies, own our own business. But when we get home, we still want to be taken care of. So that's where
Yes.
that gracefully, right? Like
Mhm.
doing things with such grace that anybody would want to work with you or be
Yes.
around you. And fierce is the one word that is my word, because just raising my kids, it's the one word that made me feel like I'm on top of the world,
Yeah.
regardless of what's happening. Um, I felt fierce,
Yeah.
and that's why those two words came together. But it was at a time in my life where I did speech therapy for 17 years. I think
Mhm.
I mentioned that to you. And my husband was doing really well in the mortgage industry. And he said, why don't you stop working? Come work for us. Like, let's build
Yes.
together.
Builds. Yeah. Power couple.
And
Yes.
yes, and besides being Latina, I worked my off,
Yes.
to get my degree and be where I was at. It was hard for me to let go. And I had my notice in my bag for over a month to give to
Yes.
work. And when I did turn it in, they're like, we can't lose you, Christine. I was like, I know, but I have
Yes.
purpose to also do this. So I worked for one whole year, one day to kind of still have that foot in the door in case it
Mhm.
didn't work.
Yes.
But I loved every minute of it. It was such a beautiful experience to join my husband. But at the same time, the real estate industry is like, there's sharks.
Yes.
It's a whole different realm where it's like I came from therapy. It's a different community. It was about helping children, things like that,
Mhm.
night and day. And I was much older than the community we were in. So I felt I didn't fit in.
Mhm.
I lost my confidence, my self esteem, um, everything, you name it. If I'd go to an event, I'd try on 10 to 20 different things to
Yes.
fit in. And at one point, I got depressed. I really did. I would make excuses for me not to join my husband in these things. And my mom said to me, she's like, you're such a beautiful woman, inside and out, what you bring to the table. It doesn't matter what room you walk in. And I was like, she's right. I have to remember
Yes.
that
You have to
fierce
have
Christine,
yes, that
that powerful
confidence.
Christine. Like, I
Yes.
raised my kids. I've gone through so much. And I'm resilient. Like, I need to use
Mhm.
that. So I started talking to my assistant and my daughter about it. They're like, do it, do it. We're going to book something. We're going to start finding a
Yes.
space. Just book it. So we ended up renting a house out here in LA, like a little garden.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, let's put it out there. So the name came up, Gracefully Fierce. We got a logo.
Yes.
I had 16 women sign up to come. And I was told, you don't have a presence. You don't have a social media following.
Yeah.
Who are you? And I was like, well, it could have stopped me, right? A door
Yes.
closing. And I thought, what I've gone through and what I want to say, the messages I have are definitely going to help women. I'm
Mhm.
going to do it.
Yes.
I almost crashed on my way to the event. I sprained my ankle, you name it. Whatever could go wrong
Yes.
went wrong. And my presentation was about women supporting their spouse in business and what that
Nice
looks like, right?
topic.
That's how I started it. All the women that joined, I had someone come from Bakersfield. Like, there was women that drove a few
Yeah.
hours to show up. And the event was about that, like who I had to transform myself or reinvent myself to be that
Mhm.
wife for him
Yes.
and understand his entrepreneurship where I came from 9 to 5 mentality.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And it just kind of like, oh my God, there's so much more to a woman than this. And
Yes.
that's when it clicked, like, I need to do this differently.
Yeah.
So I completely changed my presentation, and the next event was a full day. And I went to Modesto.
Yes.
Amazing event. And they're like, oh my God, Christine, you need to do this more often. By March, I had my third event, March of 2020.
Yes.
Everyone said no. I found a space that was able to rent me the space,
Mhm.
regardless of all the craziness that was happening.
Yes.
I had 80 women show up.
Which is a blessing because I always tell people, you know, when you have something creative, it's not us, it's God. It's God
Yes,
putting that in
100%.
us. And if God is putting something in us to do and we do it, He will show out, spiritually. And then you'll have people there. So, like, you go from like 18 people or 16 people to 80. That's a big difference.
Yes, it's a
That's a big
blessing.
difference.
Hmm.
And, that's amazing because a lot of women, we need a sisterhood. We need people that are willing to help us and not judge us.
100%.
I tell people all the time, being a woman is hard, man.
Very.
I look, sometimes I share with my husband. I'm just like we have 5-year-old twins, and one of them is autistic, and I have to do speech therapy 2 days out of the week. The other twin is not autistic, but he was born with a short tongue like my grandmother.
So he needs
And
therapy.
and so I don't want to cut it, but when my husband says no, so I'm just like, okay, well, let's figure how we can help him, because my grandmother, we could understand her,
Yes.
So
Yeah.
he's doing now. Luciano's doing speech therapy, so now it's 4 days out of the week,
Yeah.
and then soon Franco will have occupational therapy. So that would be extra. So it's like, oh my God, I am so maxed out
Yeah.
to where I'm just like, okay,
It's a full-time job.
yeah, you have this permanent federal job, and thank the Lord, I have a job that is very lenient. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, how I make my extra money is through life insurance, educating people in our
Wonderful.
community, because Merrill Lynch, Charles Schwab is not going to knock on our community doors.
No, they're
And
not.
so, but I'm willing to help,
Yeah.
the low income and the middle class family. I don't mind working with wealthy. That's fine too.
Right.
But my heart goes out to the families that are not educated on,
Yes.
helping them get out of debt. Why life insurance is important. You don't have to be married with kids to have life insurance.
No.
Like
Or
we're
have a
in,
lot of money.
yeah, like
Yeah.
we're in this facility. And so if you're a business owner, the first thing you need to do is get life insurance.
Yeah.
Keep person life insurance, because when you pass away, what happens to your legacy? You want to keep it going, Also, retirement. Entrepreneurs don't have 401ks. So the best product out there for an entrepreneur that don't have a 401k is definitely an index universal life insurance. So how
Yeah.
do we educate them about that? And last but not least, college, college funds for people's children.
Yes.
It's so important. The wealthy know the importance of life insurance. They know
Yes.
the importance of a lot of things. So I like to take this stuff, and I always tell people, if you know 5 millionaires, you're the six.
Right.
So I'm all like, I know 5 millionaires, and that's why I choose to stay with these millionaires or multimillionaires, because you learn so
Yeah,
much
the
from them.
proximity too.
Yes, you
Yeah.
learn so much. And I know one day my time will come, and I can't wait for that time, because I've made God a promise. I said, as soon as I get blessed with this abundance, I give 10% to my church
It's beautiful.
automatically, because I want to do God's work.
Yeah.
And my pastor is amazing, and I know what his dream and vision is, right? And I want to I want to fund my nonprofit organization to give back to the city of Inglewood, So I believe, our purpose and passion is important. Some of us don't know our purpose.
Yeah.
So we just live on this earth like zombies.
Just
And
kind of
then
going
when
through
they
it.
hit the cemetery, people die with their purpose and vision, their books, their movies, their
Yeah, their
passion.
dreams.
It's gone with them. So I'm just happy that you came here on Purpose and Passion with Lux Media Studios. And is there anything you want to say to the viewers? How can they find you on social media?
Yes, definitely. Well, first and foremost is, like gaining the knowledge and trying to find
Yes.
your purpose and passion is, it also starts with mindset. And that is something that, unfortunately in certain communities,
Yes.
it's not there. And again, it's that generational, that trickles down, right? Like, oh, you don't need to go to school, you just need to work.
Yes.
So then it keeps going. So it's up to us to break that cycle. And that's why I feel mentorship and coaching is important, is to change our mindset and change the future for our children and their children,
Yes.
and leaving a beautiful legacy. But you can follow me at Gracefully Fierce Women on Instagram. And my personal page is Christine V. Escobar. And if you're interested in a mortgage loan, we are Elite Mortgage Group, 22 years of experience. So give us a call to get your home loan. Our next event will be in May. The date is to be determined, and it will be in Spanish.
Yes.
Because I feel, there's something about teaching everything in English where we need to really target Latinos and the
Yes.
Spanish-speaking community, because why not them? Why not
Yes.
give them the knowledge and the tools to shift their mindset to make a difference, in their
I
own
agree.
lives and others? But
I
thank
agree.
you for having me. I'm so honored to be here.
Well, I'm happy you came. And like I said, on Purpose and Passion, we're all about educating, empowering, teaching awareness. And today you
Yes.
did that, girl.
Thank you.
Yes, well, this is Raina Carrillo with Luxe Media Studios. Go out there on YouTube, type in Luxe Media Studios. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe because that's most important for us. Well, this is Raina Carrillo signing out with Purpose and Passion. Until next time, peace.